Hola, yo soy Denise Longoria de freeskull.net, frwskull.net, y estoy muy emocionada porque es la primera vez que voy a hacer una entrevista internacional a dos artistas bien chidas, bien geniales, que tengo la suerte de haber conocido por un proyecto que han traído desde Dinamarca hasta México. Entonces, bueno, pues estoy muy feliz que aceptaron tener una entrevista para Freeskull. Y vamos a conocerlas y vamos a conocer su proyecto en esta breve conversación. Entonces, pues muchas gracias. Manon Sip Duquesnay. Manon Sip Duquesnay y Emma Arnoldi. Son dos artistas danesas que se enfocan sobre todo, Emma en la escritura, pero también en el trabajo interdisciplinario, y Manon en la danza, e igualmente en el trabajo performático interdisciplinario. So I'm going to talk in English, but don't worry, I'm going to give you that translation and everything so we can all understand what's happening here. So thank you very much for agreeing to this interview.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, could you please present yourself a little bit? Tell me who you are, what's your focus and your on this travel you're making. And this project you have, you're here for Project V, which is like this platform to give the space to female-oriented artists to express themselves, right? So, Manon, could you please present yourself and tell us a little bit about you, about your motives, your career?
So I'm a dancer, a dancer and performer. I studied in Sweden and in Spain. And I finished 3.5 years ago, and I've been traveling a lot, and I'm very interested in meeting different cultures and how dance has been progressing in different cultures. So mainly going from the contemporary dance, but with all the story and its different curves and changes. So I create mostly my own work. Right now I'm doing a solo that I presented Friday also in the event. Yeah. And then I have different collaborators. With Emma, I have a collaborator in Spain, and in Austria with who I teach also. So yeah, teach and create and perform.
Okay, artist life.
Yeah,
great.
And lots of traveling.
Good chill. That's cool, the traveling. Yeah. Love it. And okay, Emma, and could you present yourself as well?
I'm a writer, and for a long time I thought that I would want to do journalism, and actually I studied journalism, but then me and Manon a year ago met up and talked about creating something together, and I'd written this text that wasn't journalistic. It was more of a personal experience of mine that I wanted to do something with, and from that experience we created the performance, which we showcased Saturday at Project V. And from there on, it's been a good 1.5 years now where I've been writing for culture magazines, but also for myself, and writing poems, writing performative pieces, and putting them into space, both with Project V, but other platforms as well. So I write, I photograph, I create. Yeah.
Okay. Do you dance?
I dance, but not like Manon. Of course I dance.
We all dance.
We all dance.
We all
dance.
I saw you dance.
Yeah, I'm a great party dancer.
Yeah.
But not on a professional level at all.
Okay.
But I like to move.
Okay. How did you guys meet? In an artist?
We met.
We know each other since many years.
Since I was 9.
Yeah. Okay. We grew up on the same island, Bornholm, in Denmark, a tiny little island. Yes. And then our parents knew each other, so we would go to birthday parties and stuff. But then we both went to the same drama school. Okay. Once a week after school, we went and we were playing with experimental theater, where Emma's mother was also the leader and main teacher of the school, and that's where we've known each other.
So my first times on the stage have been with you. Yeah. When I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Yes. And for a long time, Manon.
Some experience, eh?
Yes. And Manon was this big sister person in my life. You had very much that role, and I looked up to you a lot. And then once I got older, we kind of moved closer together in age, because age kind of disappears when you get older. Yeah. And we traveled,
Yeah,
We
I took
hitchhiked?
Emma hitchhiking from Denmark to
Barcelona.
Spain when
Yeah.
you were like
19,
Right.
18,
Yeah.
18,
Yeah,
something
18.
like that.
we traveled together. Yeah, and then we started also because we have a common interest in filming and photographing, so also doing that together.
Yes.
Okay, so from the start, it's like your interest, your artist interests have everything to do with interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary art, right?
Quite much, yeah. And with the traveling also. We have both been traveling a lot to South America, living in South America. Yeah.
Which places have you been in South America besides Mexico right now?
Yeah. My first experience in South America was Brazil, but then I lived in Argentina for half a year.
Okay.
And then I also know Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Uruguay,
You've been around.
Guatemala.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in Central America when I was like 16 till I was 18 in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Nicaragua. And then I went to Colombia with the ambition to travel, but I just fell in love with Colombia and I ended up staying there for 9 months, working and creating, and it's so for me I have a lot of heartfelt feelings for Colombia.
For Colombia. Okay. Okay. Well, this is a little bit off topic. We're going to Project V in a moment. But how do you think traveling have shaped your experience as artists? Like, how is it?
So much. So much. I feel like the experience of meeting different people and meeting different languages and figuring out a way to be alone but together have been for me like a big experience in the way of creating, because I've had less fear in general from traveling. And for me that it's very much a factor in the art that I create and the writing that I create, is to create without fear and without judgment. And I feel like those are two qualities that I brought back home from traveling, definitely.
I feel also for me, art is a lot about communication. And definitely traveling, learning to speak different languages, both verbal languages, but also understanding like how people use their hands, their faces, their expressions in different places. And then how that gets into the art, and the art also gets a multifaceted way of explaining itself, or of showing itself. I feel is very, something that definitely has a great impact and importance for me.
Have you felt like this really warm experience to a country in particular, like Emma was telling about?
Yeah, Argentina. Argentina, I really felt from the first day I landed there, I was like, I'm home.
Yeah.
And when I left Argentina the first time, I was throwing up. I was super sick.
Yeah?
And it was like, wow,
Like, it was
what's
calling you,
happening?
like, "Don't
Yeah,
go."
it was like, wow, I felt so, it was super, very strong. I want to go back to.
Chilling. And okay, so you guys are here in Mexico, came here because, you met Areli. Areli Moran is a local artist from here, from Monterrey.
Tell us a bit about Project V. How did that happen? What's it about?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Project V happened because me and Manon had a performance, but we didn't have a platform to perform it. And we also, in general, missed a performance platform in Copenhagen. And we were sitting in January, which, if you have traveled in Scandinavia, you would know that that is a very depressing time to be in Scandinavia.
No
Cold
sun
and dark.
Very cold, very dark, not like
There's
Mexico.
a long
How
time
cold?
till
How
summer.
cold?
Like it feels that winter, it was Siberian cold, so it
Yes.
felt like minus 15, so it was
Damn.
not pleasant.
It could be really cold, but also like 0, minus a bit, plus a bit, but
Yeah.
very gray and dark.
Very grey and dark. And we were sitting at this cafe and talking, like, why not just create a platform? We know so many talented women, and why not just create an event where they could showcase their work and we could showcase our work, and we'll create it like a party for women and invite everybody. And we did that, and within a month we had a space, we had recreated
I
an
was-
event?
Because I was working in a space, Tonbito, where I was working for another festival, and then I asked if we could use the space for this, and Andreas, he said yeah. And in that space, I was organizing a workshop for 2 awesome artists from Berlin. So they were teaching a workshop that weekend, and then I asked if they would like to be part of the performance night, and they said yes. And then we had our performance, and then we asked a photographer to do a exhibition of a photo. And then we had female DJs afterwards
And an open call for,
video
videos.
dance.
Yes.
by female artists. too.
Videos and like visual artists. Yeah, visual
Dance
artists.
videos.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Created by women. So we had like a loop projection of the videos going on throughout the entire evening.
Yeah.
And it came from all over the world actually.
Yeah, we had super
When
great-
was it? The first
it was
session
the
of the festival?
first. It was like
in
now. It's
January.
exactly 1 year
Yeah.
ago. It was
Oh,
the
1
first
year,
weekend
okay.
of February, also, but 1 year ago.
Was it coincidence or why February just?
It was just because I
because
I
it's
was
so
in
depressing.
Copenhagen. Yeah,
we needed to
were both
express
in
ourselves.
We needed
Copenhagen,
to do something. Yes.
Yeah. And then that was the first, and then it was a great success, and then we made another one in May where we had an open call for female artists that came from performance, dance, theater, poetry, singing, songwriting,
Yes.
and also DJ. I think it's very important that there's the more performative event, and then afterwards there's a space for people to talk,
party.
to dance, to party.
Yes. Party.
Yeah.
It's super important. And then for our third event, we wanted to invite Areli, but she was not available for those dates. And then we were talking about, or she told that she had the space here, and me and Emma had been wanting to last winter we were in Denmark, and this winter we didn't want to be in Denmark. And then we were like, Mexico.
Yeah.
Have you been in Mexico before?
No, none of us.
Yes.
Very first time.
Yeah. So Areli invited us, and then we also thought that seeing Mexico as a very machistic country, it was of course we
Areli
have
told
to
you
bring.
about it, or you already had the idea?
That's what you know about Mexico.
Really,
About.
that's very interesting.
Besides
I
other
might ask you
things,
about that stuff.
Yeah.
You
Besides
have a good
other things,
reputation.
it's known. I mean, entire Latin America compared to Scandinavia, it's so different. Feminism there is much more developed, and machismo is much more. It's still there, but not as strong at all as here.
Okay, but still, I'm curious about. Well, I have a couple of questions. But first, I'm curious about what you're saying, that there was no space, no platform to express this female artist thing, because in Mexico and in general in Latin America, we have the idea that in European countries it's like feminism is more developed, like there are more spaces, so it's weird for me that you're telling me there was no space. Could you tell me about that?
There's certain things that are happening in Denmark. We have a festival only for feminism. I'm gonna remember the name. I can't remember it right now.
Okay, not in
Hvad den hedder? Den nummer F.
I don't know, but there are different. There's definitely lots of feminist happenings, events going on, but more this performative platform of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary art was more combined with the feminist view was what was lacking.
Yes, and I think we were lacking a platform where the producing part wasn't up to somebody else as well, where it was okay, we want to show something, and we together as artists have something to say, so we work together to create a night. And that energy, that feeling that happens during a Project V event should very much be okay, we're bringing each other up and creating something together, but also it's also a platform where you as an artist can say, okay, I have this on my mind in particular, and it has something to do with a particular subject that I want to speak about, but I'm not quite sure that I'm ready to present it at a big platform or a big event. So Project V is also a platform where you can play, where you can try, where you can experiment and communicate with other artists, but also with an audience that gets a performative experience throughout an event.
Okay.
Like, for example, the third event we had in October where we wanted to invite Areli and she couldn't was about consent. And there, first we had a space called Space of Consent where we were 6 different artists that were doing things parallelly. I was doing a sculpture, 2 people were doing like play,
like a battle
fight
or
for
something.
fun.
I watched the page.
Yeah, there was one who was guiding conversations and trying like more audience intervention. One was like an audience but playing with distancing and getting closer to people. And so these things all happened because we decided, okay, we create an event with this theme, we invite artists that we think are awesome, and then they made something for the space.
Yes.
And then afterwards we had Oriane, who was actually here, who was the one who presented us to Areli eventually.
Okay.
And she has a piece which we thought is very much about consent. And
Oriane
then
Parra.
Oriane Parras. And then we had Amalie Langballe.
We, this time around, for the third event, for the consent event, we invited a journalist who is currently, she's working on a book about consent from stories. She's interviewed multiple girls in Denmark, and she came and created a debate about consent. So this time around, because it was a very political and also powerful subject that has been
Very actual.
it's very known with the Me Too movement and everything. That's also why we brought it up. And she created this debate where after the event, after everybody had an experiment in art, they could all talk together. So it was a really powerful experience to see the audience kind of communicate with each other, but also with the artist, and then afterwards staying with us and having a beer and like talking about what did this do to me. Yeah.
How's the Me Too movement
In Denmark?
in Denmark? Yeah, because here it was like a sewer, and all the cockroaches.
I think it was like that everywhere.
Yeah.
But we created the consent event at the same time that they were having a consent conference with politicians in Denmark.
Okay.
And we are one of the only Scandinavian countries that do not have a consent law. Like, you do not have to say, yes, I want to have sex with you. You just, like, it's, how do I explain this in English? In Sweden, for example, to have consensual sex means that I actively say yes. In Denmark, to have consensual sex means that I just don't say actively no.
Okay.
Which creates a lot of problems within rapes and such as, because it's hard to prove that, okay, I was raped, but I didn't say no. There's a lot of ways to say no. That's why Sweden have, last summer, and Norway as well, have passed a law where you have to actively say yes.
Yeah.
And we created this event at the same time, the same week that they were having a politician, like a conference within all the big politicians in Denmark, debating whether or not we should change the law, which personally I definitely think we should.
Yeah.
So yes, there was a Me Too movement in Denmark, but politically, I think that there's still a lot of changes that needs to happen with considering consent and concerning consent and such as.
I think it's great to have these platforms so that more people can use them to express it. That's beautiful. And also, I'm very grateful you're taking this. Is this the first time you take Project V outside Denmark?
Yes.
It's really great. And here in Latin America too, because all that stuff you're saying about loss, and I think here we are kind of ages away from that, and it's really necessary. And okay, that's great. Also, another question I'm curious about is the female approach of Project V, because I personally identify a lot with gender fluid, non-binary identity. Yeah. So I really liked that you actually put that in Project V stuff. So could you tell me about that, please?
Yeah. That was actually, it came up in our second event, the one person shared with us that she was going through the experience, the challenge, and the beauty also of defining as non-binary. And for me, I think it's something that I had taken for granted first, that I just thought, yeah, queer, non-binary, trans as well. But then we felt that it was necessary to formulate it also.
Absolutely.
Because it is, and also like that's what many people are experiencing nowadays, that it's not like binary male, female, but there is the female and then there's all the nuances of queer, non-binary, trans. Yeah.
Project V is for people who have had the experience of being a woman in some way, and it's also to express. We are learning as well on this journey of Project V, and how to communicate, how to put things into a way where they are very where it's clear what we want with this, and the vision is clear. And it's also important that we as creators of Project V, but anybody who performs in Project V, has the experience of going through this education, which life is in general. And so when we changed it from being female artists to female, non-binary, queer, trans artists, because we realized, yes, there's a lot of people who might have the experience of either being born as a woman or being born as a man, and then figuring out that they're a woman, and that is, it's so important to put that white and black on paper.
And because also something about the platform that I feel is that it's also really a space of freedom and of being able to be who you are, who you want to be, and sharing that freedom, sharing also as a the femininity, the beauty of femininity, as something vulnerable and powerful at the same time, and so in all its aspects.
You have different themes for each edition of because last one consent, and which were the other?
No, the two first were more open calls to see and then consent. But we have in the future, we would like to do one about gender. We would like to do one about power structures and different.
This
themes
one,
that
Ball in
come up.
Mexico, was about
More about the Mexican
experience, Mexican experience.
of involving.
It was for me, it felt like scratch one, the first event, bringing Project V as a platform and giving that platform to female artists in that environment where we were. It wasn't about as much for me, of course it was amazing to showcase our own performance, but for me it was no, let's bring Project V to Mexico and let's just share space, and it was really powerful to see how many women brought something. And the Project V experience of doing it together, and the amazing party, which
it was
didn't
great.
surprise me in Mexico. It was I was this is my people. I can dance.
It was awesome party. It was great too.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure people in Monterrey must feel proud that this is the first place you decided to bring, or it happened, no, that they're not being here, especially because there's some pretty heavy stuff happening in Monterrey. We are going to go to other places in Mexico, right?
We go to Cholula.
In Puebla, right?
Yeah, in Puebla.
In Puebla, only there you're going to have another Project B experience there?
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
Just for now. Okay. So just Puebla, and then you're going back, or you're going to another country, or what's the plan?
Then we have some performances that we need to show in Denmark. We're working with a theater there. And then the plan is to create a Project V event in Denmark in May, and an international
Areli?
one after.
Open call to female artists worldwide, or just Denmark? Or?
I mean, worldwide. For sure.
If you want to come to Copenhagen.
Yeah, I'm kind of May, right?
Come to Copenhagen. We would love to.
Yeah.
Great.
And for now, this first year, we all put in economically, time-wise, everything ourselves. To come here, we got funding from the Danish Arts Foundation for our travels.
Okay.
And then the invitation of Areli.
For production as well, or just
No,
like
just for travel.
travels? Okay, well.
But our vision is also that within the next year it gets more economically sustainable, that we can invite people internationally and pay fees also, because that's also something really important for us. That we can really support on
Artists,
all levels.
no?
Artists,
Yeah. Well, it's a great project. I'm pretty sure, like little by little. Little by little, not fast, but it happened. No? Yeah,
We're already
fast.
here.
We're already here. With
in just a year, right?
In just a year, it's amazing.
Yeah. But that's the vision for Project V is definitely that it should be an international platform that we would like to travel with and to present and give that opportunity to women and non-binary, queer, trans artists everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas and contacts already, and that's it's so nice.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about your performances, because in the Project B, that's like, for example, in different editions of Project B, have you presented the same performances or different?
Yeah, like Project V started because of the piece we presented Saturday. That piece we created, and then we were like, we need a place to show this piece. We made Project V.
Oh, okay.
Then in the second...
Like foundation.
Yeah, it really... And the second Project V, where we had the open call, I was working on my solo that I presented Friday, to you, in the same space. So it's been shown there also in the second Project V in Denmark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like that. I hope like... I don't know if you guys have like a platform of your own, or in Project B there's, I'm not sure if you have videos of that. I'm going to put them in the notes of this interview so we can watch them. Yeah.
Today we're gonna upload pictures from the event, and then we're definitely gonna make a trailer, and we have filmings from each artist presentation from the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, do you want to talk about your solo a bit, or should we?
I don't know.
No. Like, for example, what was the motivation for that solo?
Actually, my whole life as an artist, I've been very interested in mental illness.
Yeah, I like that you did that.
Yeah, because how much is it a label that society puts on you? How much can we work it? And also working from the body, it's something very mental, but it's expressed super physically also. So my solo is about, I've been reading different poems, analyzations, discussions, talking with people that have bipolarity to get some more theoretical information about it, and then also observing the physicality and going to the studio and finding out what does that produce. I also use music from Rachmaninoff, who was a bipolar composer from Russia.
Okay.
And so it's like to not divide again so much the mental and the physical, but see how is this, and is it actually a mental illness that you can deal with physically in some way? Yes, and more putting it out there and talk about it, because it's also a very big taboo. So put it out there, share it, make a space to talk about it, and again understand that it's not, bipolarity is not binary. It's like so many ways within each other.
I really enjoyed your performance also, because there's actually this whole this whole Freeskull movement kind of thing has a little bit to do with that, like artists, especially here. I don't know if in Denmark also, but usually here art is related to crazy stuff. Like you have to be kind of crazy to do that. Not crazy like, oh, you're so crazy, like you're so brave.
She's an artist, she's crazy.
But also because like through my research on bipolarity, I found this amazing book about the artistic temperament. And
by whom, do you remember?
Yeah, by Kay Redfield Jamieson. Okay. It's I really recommend it, because she's bipolar, but she did a PhD on the subject herself, and that was made a book. And also this, like, so much art is made out of madness, but what is madness? And is it something we really want to take away through drugs and putting people in mental
we
hospitals?
don't want to. Uh-huh.
For me, it's very much about being able to channel it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel you on that, really.
Yeah.
Like,
And
do you remember the poets? Do you remember any poets that ones you researched for your?
oh, I have them in there. It's a lot of poets.
Oh, okay.
But also,
well, you can pass
I'm
me the list.
interested.
Very
The
interested
book
in
is a
reading
bit
that.
ancient, and it's a lot of male poets that they have because those were the ones that are like
Published
official
and-
in
yeah.
history from throughout the past centuries. And now I'm gonna have a residency for 1 month where I want to actualize it more and find also female poetry actually.
Okay, so you also relate a lot with literature.
Yeah,
Like,
it's something like language, literature. There's many ways of taking in.
That's great. And Emma, could you please tell us a bit about your text? I really enjoyed your text. Like,
Thank you.
well, yeah, well, not it was. It has more to do with like with the idea of physicality and emotion, right?
Yes.
And could you please tell me about that? Yeah.
Absolutely. The text from our performance Avant in Danish or The Aqua in Spanish.
Agua?
It's a story about a girl who has a one-night stand in Copenhagen in a bathtub. And it has two parts. It has the more like rhythmic, poetic way of writing in the beginning, where it's also very honestly just pictured out, like this is what's happening. And then it has the part of her telling the story to her friend after. And it's a text about sex and about communication, and also about the communication patterns that we often submit to within our own gender. And sort
About expectations and misunderstandings.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like such as the way that I was raised as a girl tells me that this is the way that I should act in bed. This is how I should feel. I should like to be loved with, and I should like to be and it's also about really simple things such as who has the responsibility for protection during sex.
Yeah, that was also a cool part. Yeah.
And why don't we communicate, and why do we make sex awkward? And these like really normal experiences, I think everybody almost in 2019 has had an experience where they've had a one-night stand and where they were drunk, or they had this like awkward sexual experience that wasn't really, it didn't have to be an awkward sexual experience. So it's just about cutting it like it to the throat, being very honest about it, talking about this experience, and not putting guilt or shame on anybody or any gender.
Okay. It won a prize, you were telling me, right? This performance?
Yes.
Yeah, we sent it in for a theater, like an underground theater festival in Copenhagen, where we were invited to perform in August last year. And then from all the performances, we won the first prize, which is what makes us now, in the end of March, we have 1 week of performances in the theater in Copenhagen.
Okay.
Like that was the prize we won.
It's interesting also how you talk about the experience of the expectations of gender and sex and communication, because also I would think that in your country it's more open, like so now I'm like, I don't know, I think I feel I don't know anymore what I thought I did know.
It's
like,
interesting because in one way I would say it's much more gender equal, but also it's Denmark compared to traveling more in Latin America is much more non-sexual.
yeah, like
Or
how's
it's
your
like-
experience about
like
that?
when you
Please tell
say
me, like-
hello, you do like this is hello in Denmark, and there's a lot of physical distance. People are much more closed. And then often it happens that you get drunk in a party, and that's when you start touching and dancing and talking about all these things.
After you're drunk.
After you,
Denmark.
like when you're drunk. Or
So you don't kiss when you say
no.
Okay.
I do it sometimes when I come back from Latin America, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
people are like,
people are like,
but I have a lot of friends that
you also hug.
Yeah,
with
if
with
you know
friends,
people,
you give a hug.
If you know people.
But if it's the first time you meet, it's the handshake.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends who their primary sexual experiences have happened while they were drunk.
Yeah.
Especially like in the early 20s, like people I know in the early 20s. And that is so sad. It really is. And for me, there was a lacking of, especially, it's funny that you would mention that, especially after traveling in South America and Central America as a teen, because I was a teenager when I did that, and I kind of had my primary sexual experiences in Latin America before I went back to Copenhagen. And I could not figure out flirting. First of all, people thought that I was flirting with them all the time.
In Latin America?
No, in Denmark.
In Denmark.
After being in Latin America. And they all thought that flirting with them was an invitation to sex, which in Latin America, flirting is just like a natural part of communication. Yes. It's so fluid and natural here.
Okay.
And it took me years to understand how to communicate with people that I had a sexual interest in Denmark after that. And I thought that was also really interesting when I was writing The Agua. I also had like that sentiment with me, like, what am I missing? Why do I, it's so interesting with communication. And in Denmark, there's a lot of, I would say that the patriarchy is way less visible than in other countries, but we still have a lot of way to go, like a long way to go. And compared to us, like our Scandinavian sisters and brothers in Norway and Sweden, we have a long way to go, and there's still a lot of.
In what do you mean?
We still don't have equal wage in Denmark. Men in the same position as a woman would get paid more. We still need to work on maternity leave for men. We still only put men, guys have to go to the military if they draw a number. Yeah. And if they draw a number, they have to go to the military. Girls don't have to do that. As a feminist, I think that's wrong, even though I would not want to go to the military.
To anyone.
No.
Yeah, but, I think that it should be
that's similar
equal.
to Mexico, actually.
Yeah.
And so there's still the consent law. For me, that's very important. The way we deal with rapes in general in Denmark, the way the police handles these cases. There's still a long way to go. We're getting there, for sure, but I still experience being grabbed at nightclubs where I don't want to be grabbed. I still experience my coworkers saying patriarchally talking down to me because I'm a woman. I still experience that in Denmark. Yeah. And
I mean, I guess everywhere, no? But sometimes
everywhere.
people think like, no, they're so different. And
it is
very
different.
But there's still a long way to go.
Still a long way to go.
Well, it's good to have like these platforms and these experiences and this.
I mean, we experienced
Ganas.
it even in the consent event.
Oh my God.
There was almost like there started a discussion between two men during because one was I was standing, I was covered in glitter, and I was like a statue that people could touch or not.
And you were naked.
I was naked, completely naked. And
All covered in glitter?
All covered in glitter, yeah.
Okay. We can
So
send you
everything.
photos.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And then there were two men that were there for the event, and one was taking pictures of me from different positions. And then another man started and asking, hey, do you think it's okay that as a white man you're standing and taking pictures of a glitter pussy? And then he started defending me, and then afterwards I communicated to that person that I was like, what was going on? And he was like, I wanted to protect you. And there I'm like, don't you get anything? Like, I'm standing here, I'm creating this event, I put myself there, I don't need your protection. Like, these kind of things.
It's so awesome you mentioned that protection, because just yesterday I saw some meme or something on Facebook about something like a guy was saying like, hey, like, it's not that they need our protection, they just need us to leave them alone or not to harass them or something like that.
So, like these kind of things.
I think it's so important with men speaking up. Really, I think it's like of course, it's really important that we as women speak up about this, but I think there's so much responsibility on men right now to speak up, even if that they have the right opinion, or even if they proclaim like, I'm a feminist. Yes, then you have to speak up, because it's really, we need everybody to be a part of this, and it needs. I'm so tired of the gender struggle or the gender fight in communication. Like, we need to like communicate with everybody all together, and we need men to speak up about this subject, about consent, for example, and talk to their friends. If you feel like you have everything right on your side, if you feel like you have a right opinion, then talk to your friends about it when they say something or when something happens. And let's not like have a gender struggle, a gender fight. Let's, as like a whole, like, let's talk about this. Let's communicate. Communication is so important.
Yeah.
Okay. How have your male comrades, colleagues responded to this Project V?
Well,
Really well,
Really well, yeah.
like it's really amazing to see exactly this, like how it opens their minds. I mean, I feel like we have some male friends that are already very conscious about their whole heritage and how they act, but also for others that are like, wow, I didn't think about that before, or that was so beautiful, or I feel a lot of support around it, which is great.
Yes, I had a guy come up to me and at the consent event, and he had like tears in his eyes, and he was saying to me, I didn't understand what was happening with this girl I was seeing. Like, I didn't understand why she broke down apparently after sexual experience, and it's like I did not understand, but then I realized I never asked, and so thank you for bringing that to my mind, that I need to ask. And it's funny, I've had guys like...
Yeah, also on Saturday you had an experience here in Monterrey.
Yes, very positive. It was 4 men from Monterrey, from Mexico. One of them was living in LA, and they came up to me and they were like, thank you for creating something where I really connected to the performance and for putting the communication of sex out there, because it really made me think a lot. And that was just, for me, that's everything. That's all I want to do with creating art, is to just make people think and put something positive out there. Yeah.
Also because the heat, I don't know, I'm used to heat, but I don't know how you're...
It's getting warm.
Yeah, it's getting warm, okay.
I like warmth, that's why we're here. Also.
Yeah, for me it's perfect. I'm okay.
Yeah, great. I'm just curious, like, because you know how there's so much debate about feminism, so I wish, it's that question, like, could you please tell me your opinion or your... what is feminism for you, or your...
Absolutely. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Feminism for me is very simple. It's just equalities between genders, and for me it just means it doesn't matter if you're born a girl or a boy, or if you're born a girl and feel like a boy, or born a boy and feel like a girl. You should have the same opportunities as everybody else, and there should not be some power structure that makes that difficult for you within that. So for me, it's just equality between genders.
Yeah. And for me also, I agree to that. Yeah. And maybe it's the same, but said in a different way, that I feel like it's a lot about the different powers, but powers seen as also sensibility, vulnerability, and acknowledging the masculinity and the femininity within ourselves.
Yeah, powers like energy, kind of?
Yeah, energies, exactly. Yeah. So to acknowledge that every person has feminine and masculine energy, and it's not something that should be separated between one person and each other.
I look at it like yin-yang, more or less?
Yeah, also, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Because this has been so great, like everything, talking to you. I don't know if...
I don't know. Thank you to Areli, thank you to Espacio Expectante, thank you to Centro Cultural Segundo Piso, Iguacho, where we're going to collaborate now.
In Puebla, right?
In Puebla, in Cholula.
Yeah, have you got a great experience too? Hi, thanks. No.
And thank you for all the female artists that came and shared their art, and all the participants. It's been a super strong and beautiful experience.
Yes, we're very, very happy to be in Mexico.
Great. I hope Mexico is a big country, and it's
big
very different. There's a lot of countries in Mexico, so I
It's like
wish
5 million in Denmark. 5 million people.
in all
entire-
Denmark.
all
Yeah, you were
Denmark.
telling me that, right? I think there's 5 million just in Montreal.
In Monterrey,
right?
exactly.
I know.
Yeah, wow, yes, that's great. Hey, well, thank you very much. Thank you guys, really, for this. And I hope like you keep moving this project, like not just in Denmark, but also in other countries. It's great. And also in Denmark, I really hope I'm going to be able to go there and just watch this and maybe even
perform.
participate and perform. Yeah. Well, thank you a lot.
Thank you so
Va,
much.
pues espero, nada más para despedirme, ¿puedes poner el tripcito ese?
¿Lo van a cortar luego?
Sí, obvio, edición.
No, okay.
Sí, bueno, entonces eso fue todo con esta entrevista con estas geniales artistas danesas. Estoy muy, muy, muy feliz de conocer, de haber conocido, de haber tenido la experiencia de ver performear, que fue súper increíble. También dieron unos workshops, ya no hablamos de los workshops, pero pues bueno, ya nos estamos extendiendo y en otra ocasión, I hope you guys agree to another interview later on because there's so much to talk about and there's so much to know. Okay? Va, pues muchas gracias por checar esto y